Hello everyone. I just got finished making some more morel liquid culture. This time from a different dish of multi-spore inoculation. This is the dish I used. You see it's getting a little bit fuzzy now. So it definitely wants to cover space before it starts thickening up. Show you something interesting too. If you remember one of these dishes, I did a inoculation where I swirled the spores in the center. And this is why you don't do that, because see if you can see, there's a little bit of thick white there and thick white there, and then right in the center there is a little bit of green, some green mold, and everywhere it's thick and white in the end is green mold popping up, but it hasn't sporulated yet. And why did that happen on this dish and not the other dishes is because when you do a spore inoculation of a dish, you always want to streak it thin. Like I've mentioned before, that if you have too many spores in one area from inoculation, that'll actually work against you and mold can get started. And of course, if you have too thin of spores, so there's a happy medium in between, where if you just streak it across thin, it'll be able to beat out and I guess kind of cordon off all the mold mycelium that starts up. So even though you might have some mold spores that germinate, they don't go anywhere because they're surrounded off by the morel mycelium. But these dishes are good. I let them go just as long as this one, and hopefully that'll give me maybe some different results from another dish. We'll see. Got some chicken out of the woods going. My culture, that's still good. You can see it growing out there, a little bit of a orangey color. And then my first liquid culture of morel, you can see it's pretty much ready to go. Only 1 week old. I've only mixed it up once with my magnetic stir. There's a stir bar in there. And you can see it floating around in there in a big blob. And I'll mix that up again before I use it. I probably won't have to use much per bag of grain, because usually I'll take one of those jars and spread it out to 12 bags. I could probably spread that out to 24 bags because it grows so fast. I have a jar of my Plutus cervinus. You can see swirling in there. That's the multi-spore inoculation into the jar, 2 weeks old. So I'm glad that's working out just fine. I'll be making bags of that. This last batch of grain spot I had made up, I did half the bags with extra water in them, and then half the bags with no water in them. The no water bags are for the Plutus cervinus, king oysters, stuff like that. For the sclerotia producing morels, I'm going to try having those with extra water in the bag, because I think that's what's going to give a little bit of boost to the sclerotia size. But yeah, we'll find out. I don't think it'll spoil it, but you know, this is still all experimentation. And two, I have some king oyster that I started up about a week ago off agar wedges inside the jar, and it's growing just fine. But like I said before, I don't know how healthy it is. I don't really know how healthy the chicken of the woods culture is, but you know, we'll see how it goes. And I'll be hopefully getting a lot of spores from the king oysters too to share with all of you. It was a good day to wash down this basement. It finally dried out outside after about 2 weeks of straight rain here in Ohio. And I noticed that we're having some problems where you see some black mold and mildew growing up on the plastic on the ceiling. An area is right over where there's a air conditioner vent duct. And the cold air conditioner vent duct is making the plastic cold up here, and then any warm, humid air coming into the basement condenses on the plastic and then lets black mold pop up. So I gotta take some bleach solution and wipe down the areas of the ceiling where it's like that. But yeah, it's pretty much every space where there was a vent going across. It's got a little bit of junk on there I gotta clean off, but not a big deal. I haven't been washing down the basement as often, just because, for one, if I get the lion's mane wet, they really don't like that. You've seen that before. So that too, it's been so humid again that I've actually cut off the intake fan down over there and let only the exhaust fan pull air from the house, which, you know, the air conditioner's run, so it's still a bit drier, but it's still been pretty humid down here. And actually, it was a bit too dry when I got into the basement this morning, so washing it down will bump the humidity up too. But then again, I'll probably have to turn on these pond fogging units again eventually. You see here, I got some peppers from the garden. Probably next season, I'm going to make some videos about organic gardening. Although I'm not organic certified, I practice organic methods. I don't use any chemical sprays nor pesticides. But you can see on these sweet peppers here, they got a white powdery coating. That's a product called Surround WP. It's white kaolin clay that you mix up and spray on the fruits, vegetables, entire plant. And it keeps the bugs off. It's a crop protectant. But unfortunately, you can also see here's a nice big yellow pepper, but see the top's all chewed up. I'll have to eat that myself, slice it off. And that's the fault of stink bugs, cucumber beetles, and squash bugs. They are bad around here this year. Really bad. Worst I've ever seen it. And a lot of farmers I talk to say it's the worst they've ever had it too. So next year though, I'm going to be using insect barrier, which is like this fine nylon mesh. And actually I might be using mosquito netting instead of that if I think it works just as good, because I can get mosquito netting that's nylon for much cheaper. But I don't know if the mosquito netting allows UV and other, light through. I'll have to experiment with both, but definitely the mesh insect barrier that you throw over the garden, just like have garden hoops, so like high hoops or whatnot, and that'll keep all the bugs off. And I don't have to wash all this clay off and spray it on. It's a big hassle, but it's they're the only thing that works other than using some actual chemical spray to be an insecticide. But yeah, next season I'll be adding some gardening videos to all this. Hey everyone, I'm out hiking today. Nice day to do it. I'm going to take some video of anything interesting I see. You can see these mushrooms growing up here. Don't know what they are exactly. They look like maybe some sort of Lepiota species. I'm going to pick this one for a sample. Has a ring, free gills. See, it's growing in the crotches of this old rotten tree. Some hardwood. A little bit over here too. I don't see them anywhere else. So I'm going to take this with me and identify it. Check out the thorns on this old black locust tree. Very long, very sharp. Fresh ones too. Every time I see one of these, I bet the Indians called it a torture tree, because that's where I bet criminals ended up. Ever wonder what these things are? You see sometimes on wood and other things outside. It's a nest of praying mantis getting ready to hatch out. It looks pretty fresh too. But they'll turn into like a little wafer thing. Almost look like a piece of candy. But eventually there'll be lots of little praying mantis coming out of that. This is a really important plant you find in the forest called jewelweed. You see it has these little orange or yellow flowers, a little bit of a tail at the end, little round leaves, a little bit of serration. Crush it up. It's great for poison ivy, stinging nettle, any kind of itches and bug bites. I actually harvest some of this and keep a bag in my freezer because I'm not really particularly prone to poison ivy, but I have relatives that get it very easily and outbreak really bad. And this is also the main ingredient in poison ivy soap. So go to the forest and find you some. It grows in wet areas, sometimes by creeks, but you can see it's all up and down this path where it's wet. All this rain we've had has got the puffballs coming up. You can see them right here. I'm not sure what variety this is, but it's small and really delicate. If they're a larger variety, I'd probably harvest them to eat, but I'm just going to leave these be. You can see they're growing in kind of clay soil where it's been mowed along the path, and there were actually a whole bunch of them before, and the city came out and mowed them all down. Here you can see some old ones that are all spory inside. See all that? Whew.